Governments absolutely played themselves on a massive global scale, and honestly, watching the complete and total backfire of the internet's biggest whole surveillance push is just so satisfying. Like, just imagine being a politician, spending years passing strict laws, doing all these sorts of dramatic press tours, and also just threatening trillion-dollar tech companies with massive fines just to force everyday people to scan their real-world ID to look at a damn website. Like, you do all of that just only to wake up and realize you accidentally caused the biggest online privacy boom in human history. Like, that is just like exactly what is happening right now, because this massive wave of age verification laws just completely blew up in the faces of the people who wrote them in the first place. Like, these lawmakers, they genuinely thought regular casual internet users were just going to roll over, submit to a digital bounce, and happily hand over their ID over to some shady third-party verification companies without a single fight. But instead of normalizing a crazy mass surveillance state where you have to prove your legal identity just to download like a basic smartphone app or click a simple link, well, instead these laws just did the exact opposite. Like, the government, so they basically ran a massive population-wide PR campaign for privacy tools, just essentially teaching an entire generation of casual internet users exactly how to hide their web traffic, protect their personal devices, and route around these government checkpoints. Like, it is an absolute like textbook example of the system completely losing control of the narrative, and a sheer irony of a bunch of clueless politicians trying to lock down the internet and accidentally creating an entire ecosystem of digital resistance is honestly just pure comedy gold. Like, it's so great to see. And the absolute best part about this whole disaster is that we actually have the receipts showing exactly how badly the public completely rejected this. And it is just hilarious. Like, researchers, well, they started looking into what regular people were actually saying right when the UK tried to force these strict age checks into law. And the numbers are honestly just like incredibly embarrassing for the government. The second these aggressive new rules actually kicked in, search interest for VPNs like in the UK, they instantly shot up by a massive 89%. But the real juice of this whole situation is what was actually happening behind the scenes on social media. Like, when people started actually analyzing the actual discussions happening on platforms like Reddit, for example, well, they saw that users weren't just quietly like downloading these apps, like they were just fully like crashing out about it. Like, with every single new enforcement milestone that the government tried to push, well, people online, like on Reddit threads, just kept on exploding, with one specific stage of the rollout literally triggering a massive 415% spike in people talking about how to bypass the system. And here's the craziest part that completely destroys pretty much the UK government's entire narrative. Like, the data explicitly showed that normal everyday people weren't even like flocking to these privacy networks just to go look at, like, I don't know, like Gooner stuff. Like, people were just genuinely just fundamentally grossed out by the idea of the government tracking them. Like, the vast majority of users were hopping into these threads purely out of like heavy concerns about mass surveillance, and honestly a profound, completely justified distrust of these random age verification vendors who were just secretly hoarding everyone's sensitive corporate data under the hood and will probably have a data breach in the next 2 weeks. But the situation gets so much juicier when you look at the companies who are actually building these privacy apps, because their servers were just basically catching on fire from the sheer volume of new users. Like, the market response to this sudden legislation was so incredibly massive that individual privacy providers, well, they started seeing like numbers that legitimately look like a glitch on a corporate spreadsheet. Like, we're talking about like one specific VPN developer literally coming out and claiming that their app experienced a mind-boggling 1,800% increase in downloads during the whole like very first month after the UK's strict age verification rules officially hit the web. Like, now obviously, to be completely fair, like that massive percentage increase is just coming from one specific developer's backend dashboard. So we can't just act like every single privacy company on earth saw the exact same like crazy boom. But honestly, when you combine that completely insane spike with all these massive like panic online and the search data, well, the reality of the situation is completely undeniable. Like, millions of completely ordinary people who just probably couldn't even tell you what an IP address like was 2 years ago, are now actively installing encrypted tunnels and also learning the basics of cybersecurity just to keep like their daily browsing habits away from a bunch of out-of-touch bureaucrats. Like, the government's master plan to comply literally forced the general public to become tech-savvy privacy advocates overnight, which is just like ridiculous to think about. And honestly, watching the actual policymakers realize they completely lost control of the internet is just an absolute like masterclass in just sheer cope. Like, now that all this data is out in the open and everyone can visibly see that millions of normal citizens are just like simply typing 3 letters into an app store to make the government's entire multi-million-dollar verification infrastructure completely useless, where the politicians are absolutely scrambling. Like, lawmakers are now running to the press and showing up in these whole serious committee hearings to desperately describe VPNs as a dangerous quote-unquote loophole that urgently needs to be closed, which is just an incredibly embarrassing admission ever, because it proves they don't even understand how the fundamental laws of computer science like actually work. Like, they're publicly crying on television about a loophole while simultaneously being forced to acknowledge behind closed doors that these highly restrictive digital balancers they spend millions on are so laughably easy to bypass with just like legal basic consumer software. Like, it turns out that when you try to brute force a reality that completely defies how the modern web is actually built, where you don't actually stop anyone from accessing the internet, you literally just completely destroy any remaining public trust you had left. Like, every single time a politician gets on like some sort of podium to aggressively demand that $1 trillion company build a magical backdoor or a mandatory digital ID checkpoint, well, they are just directly reminding the public exactly why they need to immediately go out, download a privacy tool, and start locking down their data. At the end of the day, this whole chaotic situation is just the ultimate proof that the internet is inherently designed to interpret censorship and overreach as like a malfunction and just like naturally route directly around it, like a correction. Like, the government's grand master plan of turning every single consumer smartphone into a glorified tracking device where you have to scan your face or upload a physical passport just to use a basic browser just completely collapsed the exact second it collided with actual human behavior. Like, instead of creating a compliant, heavily profiled population of users who just like submissively like hand over their real legal identities to shady fourth-party data scrapers, well, the government just accidentally funded and built a massive decentralized resistance movement. Like, they wanted to normalize this stuff, but instead they just accidentally gave the entire privacy software industry this most like free marketing, like the best free marketing possible in the history of like technology. It's just a beautiful reminder that no matter how much ego a group of clueless people have when they stand on a stage and try to act like some glorious like dictator, well, they simply cannot patch out the fundamental human desire for privacy with a rushed, terrible piece of legislation. But yeah, the same resistance is also here in the US and just other countries around the world. But the UK, they just fumble it the worst. So yeah, that's this video. Drop a comment, subscribe, and I will see you next time.